What is up, you guys? We are back yet again with another awesome film. And the first shot of the movie is a close-up zoom on Mars from where little fragments can be seen launching toward Earth. We hear a voiceover stating an intelligence far greater and bigger than ours is studying and watching us like people watch creatures under a microscope and has devised a plan to strike Earth at some point. And three astronomy graduate teenagers, Herb, Augie, and Hannah, were exploring through the woods at night on their bicycles. According to Hannah, about 2 hours ago, she saw a green meteorite falling from the sky, and Herb, the nerdiest of the three, believes in the existence of extraterrestrial life and is obsessed with researching the unknown. Since a meteorite either has yellow or white light, Herb speculates that it might have been something else, something like the Martians. Hannah and Augie scoff and laugh at his theory, telling him to be less pessimistic. As they go deep inside the woods, Herb notices a strange creature between the trees, but he dismisses it because he figures he's just probably seeing things. And after pedaling for a bit, they were getting closer to the spot where the meteorite landed, but Hannah's GPS was out of battery, so they decided to crash at Herb's place since he lives nearby. Next, we see a strange creature appearing visible and watching the trio pedaling away. The next day, at Herb's place, his mom Ellie informs him that she was leaving for Leatherhead to visit his Uncle Tom, who was Herb's late father's brother. Herb's dad was interested in extraterrestrial life, as was his Uncle Tom, and his mom asks him to come visit his uncle, saying that he's the closest thing he has to a father, and Herb agrees to try if they finish scavenging early. During breakfast, Ellie mentioned the meteorite landing that she heard on the radio that morning, and Herb, Hannah, and Augie dashed off to the location before their observation site got ruined by overenthusiastic people. When they arrive at the landing site, it was busy with people watching something enormous close by. The group decide to have a better look while avoiding the attention of the approaching police officers, and they can sense heat radiating from the meteorite as they approach it. While Hannah was filming everything, they realized it was more of a metal than a rock, and came to the conclusion that Herb might have been correct after all. Augie stumbles accidentally and touches the space capsule, which burns his palm and causes the pod to open. And inside, they see this tentacle creature like an octopus that looks so scary. And both Hannah and Augie sense danger, and they urge leaving the area. But Herb appears to be hypnotized by this alien and didn't hear Augie and Hannah screaming. Getting startled by a police officer calling them, Herb wakes up from the trance and the door of the space pod immediately closes. When the officer questioned them about why they were snooping around a secure area, they respond by saying that they're from a university and that Dr. Stint had sent them to look into the meteorite. But because they looked like teenagers, the officer was going to arrest them anyways, but Dr. Stint appears on the scene and he doesn't. Herb immediately warns the professor about the possible nature of the extraterrestrial creature, stating that it doesn't look friendly. As Stint orders the investigation to begin, the space pod begins to move and open. Suddenly, a giant three-legged creature emerges from inside. Everyone was shaken by what they were witnessing, and they stood still. And the three-legged creature began walking toward them, and they all then run away in terror. And this tripod creature began to shoot a heat beam which burned most people to ashes. The trio somehow managed to get their bicycle and pedaled away to Herb's house, and everything was chaotic. Military jets were soaring in the sky, and they were on their way when they noticed another green light coming from the sky and exploded on a nearby mountain. And when they got home, they obviously opened the TV to see what's going on, even though they were there and had a first-hand account, but I guess an expert's opinion goes a long way. Anyways, they opened the TV and all the channels were down except for channel 1. And on channel 1 they see Dr. Stint, who states that they were trying to talk to the Martians, but they were not in a chatty mood. And they also learned that a couple more space pods have landed across the country, and the Martians are destroying anything and everything. And next, a soldier appears on TV to warn civilians, particularly those living near the landing location, to stay at home and not approach the pods. He also advises them to leave their televisions and radios on when suddenly the last channel dies. The three of them then panic and try contacting people they know, but their phone signals were dead, and they realize the aliens have compromised the network signals, making communication with the outside world impossible. Hannah gets worried about her parents who live in Manchester, but Herb tells her that it's impossible for the Martians to go all the way to Manchester this fast. He says theoretically, since the Earth's gravity is 3 times stronger than Mars, the aliens will be moving 3 times slower down here. Augie tries to cheer them up by saying that the Earth's military technology is advanced and that the aliens will be defeated sooner or later, but Herb believes that the world is doomed since the aliens are millions of years older and are more civilized than we are. Later that day, Hannah notices something moving in the bushes and she hurries to the living room to warn the others. But it was just an artilleryman named Ben Baxter looking looking for shelter and they invite him inside. Baxter has an emotional breakdown in the bathroom, and after he freshens up, he goes downstairs and tells them that his entire troop had been wiped out by the Martian invasion and that he only survived when he fell in a ditch when the last heat beam struck and all his friends and his entire unit died. They provide Baxter with some essential supplies, and using Herb's walkie-talkie, they reach out to the only surviving military outpost near their location. He advises them to reach the military outpost first to access a safer way to Leatherhead, and he also warns them not to use patrol vehicles as the Martians detect the heat signature from the exhaust and attack. Accompanied by Baxter, the trio ride their bikes to Weybridge, the nearest surviving military base. Baxter tries to send them south so they can head to Leatherhead, but the other soldiers warn them about another cylinder landing there and attacking the area. And by cylinder, I'm referring to another alien. They assure Herb not to worry and that people are being evacuated to London and that his mother is most likely there. So they prepare a private boat for 4 of them to head toward London. But just as the team was about to leave, a tripod appears in the distance and begins attacking the area. But thank God for the military and planes who arrive at the scene and destroy it. Everyone was cheering because the alien got destroyed, but just then 4 other tripods appear from behind and destroy the entire military position. The group then flee to the wilderness where they were separated from Baxter. Hannah hits her head and loses consciousness, and they resume their journey after she wakes up, and they stick to their earlier plan and board the boat heading toward London, but the cold was unbearable, so they decide to shelter for the night and resume their journey in the morning. As they were looking for shelter, they come across a man sitting alone in the forest who informs them that he is God's loyal messenger and that all they're witnessing is God's punishment to end the human race because human beings have abandoned him. He kept telling them to repent and then directs them to a nearby house where they can find food and shelter. At the house, they do find food and supplies, and Augie and the priest get into an argument about the distribution of food supplies, and this dude then threatens to end their life, and he forces them all to sit around a table, and he starts rambling on about how he'll use Hannah to repopulate the earth. And when his ramblings become too much, Herb starts questioning why he's like this, and it's revealed that the priest actually lost his family earlier, and he lost all hope and is mentally broken, and he's lost touch with humanity, so to speak. And later into the night, the priest falls asleep, and the 3 of them tries to escape, but he catches them in the midst of doing so. But all of a sudden, a tripod appears outside, extending his tentacles through the window and grabs the priest and kills him. The next morning, Baxter communicates with them through the walkie-talkie, and they begin their journey to where he set up camp. They meet with Baxter, who informs them that everything had changed after the 7th tripod landed in Primrose Hill, and that all tripods were moving in that direction. Baxter tells them that they have to spend their lives now hiding from the Martians' gaze, but Herb disagrees and believes that they should look for a means to get to London. Despite Augie's protest, Baxter consented, and the group agreed to march toward the ruined city. Hannah and Herb decide to explore around the Martians' tripods for weak spots, while Augie stays with Baxter to keep an eye out. Herb and Hannah come upon one of the Martian cylinders constructing a nest across a field and feeding the spores they hatch with the evaporated essence of abducted humans. And suddenly, one of the tripods captures Augie and Baxter goes after it to save him. He tries to get the tripod's attention, but as soon as he does, it clamps its tentacles onto him and pulls him up. And in order to save Augie, Baxter sacrifices his life by blowing up the grenades he had with him. And when Hannah and Herb come back, they get chased by another tripod for a while, and Herb suggests entering the sewer system for safety. The trio lose determination after witnessing Baxter's death, and both Herb and Augie react to it differently, which leads to this absurd argument between them. Hannah somehow manages to calm things down, and they then spend the night in the sewers. The next morning, the chaotic sounds from the outside seem to have stopped, and the team decided to take a look by going outside. They eventually come across the Martian organisms lying dead in the woods, and shortly after that, Dr. Stint shows up with the military. The trio were confused about the whole situation, and Dr. Stint states the reason why the Martians were eventually defeated. It's revealed that while all human war machines proved ineffective in combating the destructive and technologically superior Martians, Mother Nature herself sought a remedy as the Martians were infected with microbes and bacterial life forms, and they succumbed to them because they had no resistance because they were from another planet. Dr. Stint also adds to Herb that his mother had communicated with her and that she's fine and on her way home. And as the movie comes to an end, we see that one of the spores has hatched and is certain living organism is creeping outside, which means that the Martians have managed to evolve and adapt to Earth's atmosphere and its bacterial life forms in a very small amount of time. And our movie ends on that note, and I hope you guys enjoyed this recap. Make sure to leave a like, leave a comment, and most of all, subscribe to my channel. I love you guys so much, and I promise to see you on my next recap. Bye!